I was going to ask you.
They should be running that way. If it's not, we can. They can. So we, I thought I put them in there. Yeah. Well, I think.
Oh, when, yeah.
I don't know how
It's kind of hard with it. Lots of construction.
You're all right to leave these with you. If anybody else
Yep,
does.
you sure can.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just look at Dennis like, please don't. Hang on just a second.
Our first session did get,
Well, I don't know. They might take this and figure out what everything is.
Well, Dennis is probably the same way, to see how.
and we're doing our.
What is Dennis's last name?
Holland.
Holland.
I was like, Brown?
Brown, yeah. I don't know why I can't remember that. My two older boys, their last name Holland. I should remember that. For some reason, it doesn't stick. I don't associate Dennis and Holland. I tricked you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Somebody's got call. We had to call.
How are you? I haven't seen you forever.
No, I hate these things. I'm sorry.
Are you doing good? I'm doing good.
I know. Yeah, I like it. Well, the little girl's as cute as the little boy. Your little green.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Sorry, you stick it. Hey, Kathy.
Yes, honey.
For people like these, hey, how are you?
Well, my best friend from high school.
What's your name? Yes, okay,
And
good.
she'll
Oh, I
leave, you know.
Okay,
You ain't worth it.
I love it.
I do too.
Howdy.
Hey, Black. Black.
Here, let me give you a hug.
How's the kitchen going?
They started with that, but I saw where you said that. You do a picture by picture remodel. No, you won't see it right now.
I know. What the second question? When did you do this?
I'm like, I've been prepared for like 3 years. But I don't like to drive. I don't know what to drive.
You could be like
It's easy.
Jack
I don't
Dynasty.
know if I'll go spot Red County. It's cool.
I know. Sure. I miss you, so I'm on.
We'll go ahead and call the joint meeting of the Ada County Commissioners and the County Board of Education. Call the meeting to order. Marshall, you need to all say the word.
Fire commissioners, Ada County commissioners. We have a school board here tonight. We want to welcome everybody into our new Avery Community Center. And, we are here tonight to talk about the renovation of the high school and remodel. We can take any action that needs.
Thank you, Mark. Kathy, would you go ahead and take
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessing of this day. We ask us to do this season, that you unite us, Lord, in the blood. You help us to deliver
And remind that you left that. You would take control of this evening. Because it's the basic crowd, what we choose to do. We praise you, Lord, and we love you, and we thank you for all.
I guess we can stand for the pledge. We can just look at the laws. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Discuss the high school renovation and building project. Addressing concerns and get updates, and we, as Mark said, we do appreciate everybody being here. And Mark, thank you all for this. This first time, my first time today. It is absolutely beautiful. So thank you for hosting us here. And, that was just a reminder for everybody to turn off their phones, starting with me. I will turn it over to Dr. Brigham.
Thank you very much, Chairman Grant. Thank you to each one of you all for being here today. This meeting is an outcome of a request for a general contractor and an architect to be with both boards to give us an update on the progress being made at County High School. It is a significant investment of taxpayers' dollars, and we owe it to our stakeholders and taxpayers to provide them with an update and timely information regarding where we are with the project and when we're going to be in this new facility. So without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Hale. Jack, if you want to take off and maybe introduce the individuals that are here for the media's sake.
Absolutely. So first off, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm Jack Hale. I'm the project engineer on for the school. We've got Greg Cook, who's the senior project manager. Heather Bowman is the vice president. Mike Love is the superintendent, and Dave Olson, superintendent. I guess, or is everybody all right with following along on the agenda and passed out? Mike, you want to try that? I can follow along for everybody.
Starting out at the top of the agenda, the completion date for the new schedule that we just sent out yesterday morning is August the 5th, and that's attainable. However, it's dependent on several critical factors, and we've listed those factors so we can talk about them today. So everybody in the room is aware of the factors that we're talking about. First and foremost, the biggest factor that we've dealt with up here is the weather. And in this schedule, which we haven't done to this point, but this one has it in it, the weather days that are allowed for the spec, we actually built it into the schedule. So I know in a couple of the school board meetings, you said, well, why is it slipping? Why is it slipping? Why is it slipping? Well, we didn't build those days into our schedule. That's why a lot of it had slipped, or some of it had slipped. So that is built into the schedule that we issued yesterday as well. Also built in, there's makeup days. Like, so if there's, we do it on a 5-day work week, and say there's a Wednesday, the weather's bad. Well, we have Saturdays for a makeup day for that, so we can still get the 5 days. And if they'll work on Sundays, depending on the company's religious beliefs, we'll be here on Sundays to support. And I think some of you have rode by on the weekends and seen the equipment, seen us working even on holidays. So we're up to do the weekends, the holidays, whatever it takes to get it done. To go beyond the weather, next is sequencing. And I think everybody's given this printout. And it is the 3rd and 4th page for the sequencing. And kind of when we first got the drawings And this is kind of, how we got to this point where we're at today with the schedule and finishing August 5th. Originally, we were supposed to start in that area 1 on the 3rd page, which is the green highlighted area. And it was supposed to work from plot 300 to this page right now. So we were supposed to kind of start at the plot 300 and work our way out and then tail from 1 to 2 and all the way across. And that would help with all of our crane mobilizations and the sequencing of all the trades and stuff. And it would have just flowed in an L pattern all the way out. There was some issues back there with some soils and some soil nailing. And so in an effort to keep moving forward with the project, we had to change up the sequencing. And you go to the next page, which is the 4th page, looks like this, a lot of different colors. You can see how that drastically changed our schedule and our plans kind of out of the gate. And instead of having like 2 phases to sequence the project, to build a new building, it went into 6, which changed the project overall completely. And it made crane mobilizations where we were going to have 5, it took us to about 15 because they had to keep coming back and forth because we kind of pigeonholed ourselves in the middle of the building once you started building out from one side and out from one side and in from the far side of the football field. We were kind of stuck and we could only set a couple pieces of steel and do a little bit of work and have to bring it back in up the mountain and get the approval from the state to drive it. And that took a lot of extra time as well, having to do the sequencing. And there's a lot of other factors in it too, with the sequencing. That has drastically set us behind. The next would be critical path items. And we picked out really a couple of the biggest critical path items that are hurting us. One is the roofing. And we had planned to have the roofing on, but weather, to do the roofing, they need 5 clear days now to do the flat roofs, those systems. And it doesn't matter if those days are Thursday through Monday, Monday through Friday. We just need 5 clear days without rain, without snow. And y'all can see how long we've been fighting it. We were hoping to have it done November. And here it is towards the end of February, and we still haven't found that amount of time. The classroom wing, we do have it dried in with ice and water shield on it. And it has about 180-day life before the metal roof has to go on. So we're about 30 days in to that 180. And if you look at our schedule, we should have that metal roofing on within the next 45 days. So we'll be more than safe with the ice and water shield. And that's what we're trying to do on the other ones, get them dried in. So
You said 4 to 5, not 4 to 5, right?
for the total, right now we're dried in on the classroom wing, but we're trying to get all the other areas dried in first, and we're looking ahead of the weather. So within the next 45 days, the permanent metal roof, gutters and everything, we're hoping can all be complete with weather. We're just trying to get dried in to keep it from raining inside. So the rest of our critical trades can keep moving forward in areas that right now they can't get into. Because it quits raining out here, it quits snowing, but it rains in there an extra 2 days. So a lot of our critical path items inside are being held up and it's going a lot slower than it should. So we just need that 5-day window. And we're gonna try and work this weekend on Saturday too, because we've had, today has been pretty good, and we're hoping to go through Saturday and have, I'm not saying the whole science wing will be closed in by then, which I don't think it will, but we have plans within the next 2.5 weeks to have the science wing done as well with the weather. Right now, we're doing all the blocking, and we got the parapet stuff, and the lumber came in because, as some of you know, the lumber got stolen for the parapet to build the wall out of our job sites. We had to reorder, have them bring it up the mountain. And there is some available around here, but they chose to use their supplier to bring it up. So we got that in actually yesterday, and the lift, and we got that parapet installed and stuff today. And we're starting on the insulation and everything up there tomorrow, and some more of the blocking. And the soil nailing, I think I'm gonna let Greg, our senior project manager, talk about the soil nailing and go through some of this stuff.
Our concern or our reason for putting it on the critical path, if you look on page 5, 16. You see the drone photos. The top picture was the site when we got in. And the bottom picture is where we had decided, or we were going with our phasing plan that Mike had already talked about. There in the inset of the pods was where our first phase was. We encountered 4 soils there. We had to back up and have soil nails designed. And that was part of the change order that you folks are probably all aware of. That put us into, if you go to page 6 of 16, you can see we started on the bottom picture in that phase that already has the metal on the roof on the left, bottom left, where we would have been completely coming out from that inset between the pods coming out. You can see our driveway in the top photo better. That's where our crane went through multiple times. We weren't able to just sit the crane in place and start setting steel and come out in what we'll call a logical order. That soil nail is, I'll say, rearing its head again somewhat on the south side of the science classroom. There is shown a retaining wall that was future that will hold the upper soil level on the main level. We retain that soil with that concrete retaining wall. It's 18 feet high. And down below, we have to have access to do masonry, to do windows, to do underground rough-ins. There's an acid tank that we'll talk about a little bit later. All those things we can't put in place right now because the depth of the soils are there. We can't remove the soil because they're not safe. And that's how we got into the original soil nailing fee. It wasn't safe to do the excavation to the depth that you would go, to be able to work safe and to make sure that the existing structure stayed in place. We've got the same issue now working in between pod 100 that is scheduled to come out after this phase is completed. But what it's doing is hamstringing us. We can't get equipment in to adequately do work safely. What we would like to propose is as an option, and again, we aren't looking for answers tonight. We aren't looking to throw anything at anyone. We're looking for help, assistance from all parties if possible to figure a way to quickly make this hurdle go away, overcome it, and be able to complete the entire science building with the entire classroom building and all that proposed bridge. If we can't get back here to do this safely, we can't dry in that wall, the south wall of the science lab. We can temporary it in, we can open up everything, we can have it dry in, but without the acid tank, without the other tie-ins, those science rooms will not be able to be used. So we're proposing as an option, in place of that retaining wall, we'd like to do another round of soil nails that would be incorporated as part of that permanent wall. That would allow us to do the excavation, get it to grades, proper grades, and then put all the infrastructure in and to do the finishes during this time frame. In our opinion, that's the logical way to go about it. It's not possible for the same reasons to excavate for the new retaining wall to give us clearance. And we've got some other documents in here showing, if you look back through starting at page 9, we get into the gold line that you see, that's the original soil milling that we put in place. The blue part is retaining wall. The red ladder looking item, that was the egress stairs that the AHJ required to be in place while we were doing construction.
That's the farmer.
Yes, sorry. Yes. The problem that brought about by having these stairs, it didn't allow for making arrangements. This, from the gold line to the far left line of the stairs is only about 25 feet. But you don't have a lot of room in there to work, and with that stair, which was 8 feet wide, it made what we're proposing just about impossible. But now the stair, we've been allowed to take that stair out. We would like to take where the blue line is on outside of the pod, it's going to be removed, put in a row of soil nails there. Again, it would be incorporated in the retaining wall, which, you know, dollars would change, you know, not sure what those are. We haven't run any numbers yet or anything on that. But there would be, it wouldn't be like it'd be just a total dollar to be spent over and above what we're already budgeted to do. Like the first soil mill condition was. If you, the next page, 10, that was just the plan for the original soil mill, showing the retaining wall in there, showing the stairs. The next page,
Can you just ask, so we can't put that whole retaining wall in because it goes through the middle of an existing classroom that can't be removed from the new space.
so the intention was to build part of the wall, do the demo, and then continue the wall after the demo.
What did you say again, please?
The wall. So that blue line represents the retaining wall. You can see it goes through the existing pod 100. And so it can't go in while that building is in place, and that building is in place and used right now.
If you go back to page 9, you can see the blue retaining wall.
Yeah.
See kind of how far it goes into that existing pod that's currently there. That's probably the easiest one to be able to tell.
And that's holding up all the soil. That building has a basement, so it's much deeper.
Very much.
But it's pod 300's,
What did I say?
yeah, about 300 that it could undermine. Pod 100 has a basement, so it's only gonna be about 2 foot beneath that, so that's not a big deal, but pod 300 is 18 feet that it could undermine. A lot of buildings and use and stuff, you can't do that, plus it's unsafe for the workers underneath.
Well, will this wall be built at 100 part as you move?
It will be, it'll have to be built.
Okay, I have a question. Who should have been aware that this would create a problem when the other parts were started and we were putting up the stairs and all this other construction? Whose responsibility was it to foresee this kind of problem?
The condition of the soil were an unforeseen condition. Without doing excavations and that kind of thing early on, you wouldn't know that they're there. That's my understanding. There was some boring done. You know, you don't cover every square foot of the project. So it just wasn't seen. It was unforeseen. The soil would not support themselves.
Is that blue retaining wall in the original drawing?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. But Captain, let's be clear. Contractors, you know, their responsibilities are for means and methods, for sequencing the work. There's a lot of construction engineering that falls under their responsibility. So, you know, very much includes scaffolding, shoring, and sequencing of that. So that elbow that's coming down on that yellow dog leg they place it in conjunction with Worcester to have an expert that advise them on those things, so that's the,
Where's he at?
you know, it's complicated
Okay.
piece, but
I just was wondering,
To speak to that, we did have somebody design that we sent and we sent over to everybody. And they looked at it and everybody was okay with it and it was installed. And the reason it's where it's at is because the soil nailing went in about 20 feet. And had we moved it over closer to pod 100, it actually, we would have penetrated into the actual building. So it's where it had to be by design, or when you get up towards the top, it would actually penetrate it into the rooms in pod 100. And we are responsible for a lot of stuff, means and methods, but when it comes to unsuitable soils and stuff, we don't carry insurance to design stuff. And when it comes to unforeseen conditions like that in soils, we don't have that insurance and we're not designers, so we wouldn't design that. That's why we reached out to try and, put the best foot forward and then keep moving forward with the project, but we don't design that type of stuff, nor do we have insurance to do that.
but when you realized that there was problems with that soil there, was it not kind of assumed that it would move on it by the 100 point? Or by that, where you're talking about having to propose?
I think that they knew that those soils, when they came out and looked at it, I think they knew that whole area was bad. That's why they did a large part of that soil now. I wasn't here, so I can't speak for fact, but from the conversations I've had, I believe that.
So they were aware there was a problem there prior to the.
Nothing you could do because the building. I mean, the main thing is nothing you can do right now because the building.
Yes.
but the integrity of that science, that existing master wing that's 2-story, that is a retaining wall in itself, so it has a certain amount of integrity to it.
So if we knew unsuitable soil was going to be a continued issue, why are we just not hearing that it's an issue again?
Well, it's the placement of that elbow wall that, down Moxley Point. But it's really not an issue for the simple reason, you got a retaining wall in there to start with, right? That retaining wall that you're talking about, that blue line, that is where you want to add the soil.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're wanting to eliminate that retaining wall and put soil mill in that point. Is that correct?
Not eliminate, but incorporate the soil nail process into the permanent wall.
But the retaining wall will take care of any problems at that point in time, of dirt problems. Is that correct?
To sort of take some idea, what you're saying is, what that glue wall is shown to be in contract. It's has someplace for you want to soil now and then shot trees at the front, so to speak, in place of.
Yeah.
That's what.
You and I are saying the same thing.
Right.
And the reason for that is because we can't move on with 100 being there at the present time to finish the science.
And that's where you want to add soil.
But you would take that to a certain point, do a cold,
We would take it as close as we could to that pod 100 so we could do all that work and excavate that dirt out.
but then do a cold joint and then do a pour, go back to pour place concrete beyond that, because once pod 100's out, you've got that retain, you're not having whole dirt because there's no dirt there because it's basement of pod 100 right now.
Right. And one thing that we haven't said, but we can show you on page 12. is a sectional view of the retaining wall on the left. Not just the wall that goes there. You see there's a footing that sits underneath the wall, and holds the wall in place. The footing actually projects 7 feet to the left of that wall. So it's actually, your excavation starts even closer to the existing structure. So if you look at the wall and you would say, well, that's not that close. We actually have to excavate another 7 feet. And then when you excavate, you can't just excavate for soil straight up and down. We have safety regs that are required by contract and the law that we can only bench that soil, being the R4 unsuitable soil, 3 to 1. So every foot that you go up, you have to be able to go horizontally 3 feet. We got an 18-foot wall high. That would be, what, 50-some feet? Yeah. So you see, it takes us a long way back. And that's why I say the soil nail eliminates those issues. We don't have to worry about the existing structure. We eliminate safety concerns, and it allows us to proceed now.
If I'm not mistaken, I can't get the level scale, I can see your section. But Pod 100 has the first floor, right?
There's a basement.
It has the basement. So when you move, if this extends this distance into what is existing Pod 100, that will be built without any, from scratch, correct?
Yes,
There's no dirt behind it to excavate.
we take the demo of the building and fill through there, because if the grade changes, starts going down away from the building, if I'm saying it correctly, Mike, it becomes easier at that point.
Right.
You don't have any obstructions.
What we're talking about here as far as soil is the distance between the existing Pod 100 and the building that we're putting in there now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So that distance is all the concern, correct?
Yes, yes. Yes, we wouldn't have to do it the full length of the wall.
Which is what, 25 feet?
Yeah, it's probably less, because we can't take the soil nails all the way up to the building, then it interferes with the demolition.
So this, what you're talking about is showing that area.
Yes.
And then this other one extends on
On its own.
the top.
Yes.
So this is a far smaller scale of soil area than we looked at when we did Pod 300.
Absolutely, yes.
I think that's what we need to get perspective here, because we got really burnt on the first. You know, it took, what, 6 weeks or more, and away and a budget on the money. So whenever we hear soil nails, everybody goes, fine, why we haven't, let this take over. But I think, if you're talking about this, that area right there, and it's extending on, this blue line is kind of the second. Because there's no dirt behind it inside. So that's all gonna be true.
Right.
Sure to goodness, we can get some decent Thursday, not gonna be hot. Believe it. I mean,
We have some.
we're at the bottom of the mountain, sitting on a solid body of rock, right? How it's up there full, I do not know, sitting on a rock.
And we have some good dirt that we have piled up on the side. If you look to the left of the new building, if you go by there, you'll see some piled up there that we're kind of stockpiling and saving to start using that. We'll have to bring in some more, we know, but that's some of that was good that we've been saving, that we've excavated out of there.
So Greg, if Pod 100 wasn't even there, we wouldn't even be talking about this, right?
That's right. That's right.
You just put the retaining wall in, keep on going.
For the drawings.
That's right. We could excavate and go on about it.
So we're gonna do all this for building from there.
No, it's not for that building, it's for Pod 300, so it doesn't undermine underneath that building, and it doesn't hurt the workers that are working underneath.
The Pod 100 was gone.
If Pod 100, we wouldn't need to do it. If Pod 100 was gone, we wouldn't need to. But not if this building was gone, we'd put in this retaining wall.
Well, but still, you got, to put the retaining wall. If you look at sheet, or page 13. This is an enlarged snapshot. You see the blue line, which is the retaining wall. See the science classrooms or biology, that kind of thing. You see the two corners? They land right at the top of the retaining wall. The existing building is the two diagonal walls at the core, right at the top of the red hash cloud. That's existing building. Remember, we said to excavate in these conditions, we'd be way underneath that building if it was safe. So we've got to not only protect our guys, we've got to protect this corner of the building right here. So the retaining wall is going to hold up the soil that this part of the building is bearing. That understandable there? So we're, with what we're suggesting, and this is just an open idea. We're hoping that designers perhaps can step in and help us come up with the most feasible way of doing it without having to wait. And we've two-blocked ourselves numerous times already with what we encountered with that first round of soil mix. We've got
The picture that shows the triangle where we're talking about. That one. Maybe for this one.
On page 7, the top photo, you look in between part 300. The new science lab classroom wall makes the right triangle or the right legs of the triangle. Part 300 is put it on.
That's the area we're talking about.
That's the constraint that we're trying to work. You figure that top leg up there at the wall itself, which is partway down in the triangle, it's only 25 feet. Trying to put a piece of equipment in there, work safely, that kind of thing, it's not.
Yeah.
I realized that soil milling, that soil was unsuitable. Because it seems to me like, to Kathy's point earlier, if you saw that if you see that the soil is unsuitable here, it only stands to reason that 50 feet up the hill is gonna be, bad soil too. So was that was known then?
I wasn't here at that time either. I'm thinking, Dave may be able to help with this answer, but because of the constraints of the how do we keep the egress stable? It limited things, what you could do there. You couldn't put in a road going the opposite direction, perpendicular to what was there. We weren't able to do that.
Yeah, I get that.
I think it was probably known that the soils in the whole area were bad, but not to penetrate into pod 100. That's where at the time it had to go, to be able to do it back far enough to keep us safe with the work that we had to do at the back of our.
So here's my concern on that, or my thought on that. It feels like, I don't know a lot about construction, I will admit that up front. But it seems to me like if that was known then, that we just shouldn't just be hearing about that. We should know about that in the original soil milling. Two, that it shouldn't be listed as a critical factor in making the schedule out, because it shouldn't account for already. Feels a little bit like a thought, or we had to take care of that, when it should have been known months ago when the original soil milling was done, this is what had to be done.
On page 10, where the stairs are going down the side from the egress. There's none of that and all that dirt and bad. That's why the retaining wall, soil mill wall goes down to the end right there, dirt. And it's fluctuating.
The solar mill is already down on that yellow line.
But we just need to move it back to that. Now we're going to do the training.
We gotta move this back to the school.
In order to keep the 300 clause secure.
How many of you all was on the job when we come and did the lights walking
And
through?
more rent work, yeah.
When was the last walk?
We had the lights, well, when it was.
It was in December.
December the 10th.
December 10th.
I wasn't.
I've been involved. And David was there as well.
So Greg, at this point in time, you've not looked into the price on this, right?
No, sir. No, sir. We wanted to have a conversation to see if that was a viable avenue to approach.
So we've been talking about this issue, I believe, for 6, 8, 9, 10 months. And the OAC meeting's trying to figure out how we're gonna finish this area. We've got nowhere. Which is why we need to figure this out. And we need help to figure it out. We're not designers. And we've gotta have help to figure this out.
You've been talking about it 6 to 8 months. You haven't told us. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what she said.
That is
Ten
what she
months.
Yeah, we've got the owner and the architect, the meetings.
So why were we not told this so we could at least just, we were told it would be complete early and then if y'all knew the problem before.
My only.
Well, we did discuss it in the OAC meetings and it talked about in those meetings and it's in those meeting minutes and some of them. And I know there's several emails that have been out about it for a long time. So we did discuss it. We didn't intentionally hide it from anyone. We discussed it in the meeting.
So this sawmill wall that you want to propose to put in, it's permanent.
We're gonna make it into the permanent wall, yes.
We're proposing it.
That's an idea.
Yeah. And if there's a better solution that somebody comes up with, we're fine with that too. We're just trying to show what could be done and quickly to keep moving forward.
How long will it take to see if someone comes up with a better solution or even to complete this if you give them a go ahead? I mean, you're way beyond the complete date now. The complete date was supposed to be when the kids came back from school after Christmas in January. You're a long ways from completion.
Yes, sir, we are. And that's our point today, is not to point fingers or anything, come up with solutions. How do we proceed with any further?
Well, I see, to prevent the, when the mistake was made from the very beginning, there wasn't enough manpower and machinery to put this project to finish it from the onset.
Again, because of how we were forced, or how the conditions dictated that we couldn't come in and complete all, from the west side coming out and turning the leg. If we could, and our original schedule showed that, those times we would have been out of full, we'd have been under roof before we got into the conditions that we've been fighting now.
So the first soil nailing is what threw this whole thing into disarray.
That first one, how was it gone?
Well, I mean, even though you had to, I mean, that's the reason you had to change the sequencing part because of the soil nail.
Yes. It wasn't the actual soil nail process by itself. By having to do that, we did everything we could to not just say we've got to stop and wait for this to happen. We chose to go over, based on conversations in meetings, I understand, prior to our meeting involved, to go over to the classroom with. And that way we were able to at least utilize that time. What that did, it just blocked us from being able to go in and do large sections the way it was planned, where you can just take a crane in the middle and, you know, stand and move. You can put the crane where you need to. You can only put such a large piece of equipment in, you know, to do these things. With the equipment that was required, you could only do a small piece at a time, work your way out, get that piece finished, and then start over again, work a small section for this sequencing arrangement that we show you on the second page. It had to be done in small patchwork-like ways instead of just going in at one time like a normal contractor would do. We knew how to do this. It's just that we couldn't let it sit in. That wouldn't be fair to you folks. It wouldn't help us until we got the soil nailing in place and then came out.
Could I?
Yeah,
Go ahead. And again, I'm gonna show a lot of statements here, but with that, the ideal situation would have been to say, okay, we're not gonna start with 45 or whatever it is. We're gonna do this soil nailing first. And then we would have been 45 days behind instead of a year and a half behind. Again, we're at the mercy of the architect of the GC. For me, I'm not a construction expert by any chance. So that lies with you guys right there that were behind.
I wrote the RFI July 3rd. And we didn't get approval on it till into September. And I was done with the soil nailing wall on October 15th, which put us right in the winter time. Do all our foundation work in that area and bring the building.
I understand all that. Even so, even if we're giving you 6 months to do the soil nailing and let's get out of winter and all that, start March of last year, we should have been ahead, I would think, just with that. Again, I'm showing ignorance here on this, but it just seems like the decision to, okay, we're going to do the soil nailing and then move out a little bit here and there. I mean, it made it look, and it did, there was progress going on. But if it was going to stymie you that much, why? I just don't understand why that decision was made. And the one other thing I had, the understanding was we were going to stay in that 100 pod. We had to have it for our children until we could move them over, or until they were out for summer and demo that. There is no way that could have happened with this retaining wall. If that building's got to come down before we could finish it. There was no way. So Dr. Brickman had a good point. Knowing that, we should have demoed that from the get-go and got us, I mean, and nobody, we know how expensive units are to get, and we were all against that, but in retrospect, we may have done that, knowing that not, because again, we were under the understanding, and that was our thing, we've got to have kids in this pod until we can move them over here, or until they're at least out of the building, and then do your work real quick and we can start it. So those are, again, I know I'm throwing ignorance, going to laugh at you during the meeting or after either one, but I don't understand those two things just have me bumfuzzled in a major kind of way right now.
So.
It only took a little over, it took about 4 weeks to do the soil nailing. It took so long to get them the answer and approval.
The answer from us to do it, or
change order to go.
and control to do the design. Oh, I thought you meant for us to approve the change order. I thought we knew that from the get-go.
So how long does it take us to get a design right now for the soil nailing that you need to do? How long does it take to get an engineer area to design that and get to it?
Anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks.
So we don't have to decision. We're gonna be, if we wait 3 to 4 weeks to make that decision, we're gonna be another 3 to 4 weeks behind.
What other options are there?
So this schedule you give us out here tonight?
It's shattered because of this, Mr. Man. It blows it.
It doesn't have the soil metal in it.
It does, so I'd like to, I guess, correct somebody asked the question of it. We have the soil milling wall removal beginning in the middle of March. So 3 to 4 weeks from now. So if the process, if getting something started took any longer than that, yes, we would then see delays in the schedule. But if we can meet that time frame, which that's the absolute most amount of time we could have allotted there, then we will not see a delay. But we have to meet the time frame that's laid out.
So
And if you look at, it's the red heading, I think it's labeled pod 100 in the schedule.
it is on page 2.
Yeah, so that's how that work is to be sequenced in between those two things there.
So if you go to page 11, of this, you can see the soil milling. So we're trying to get help on whether we can remove this soil milling wall. We went to the architect and said, go to geotech. We went to the geotech who works for Adrian County, and they said, we're just really a consultant. I can tell you about the soil. We need to get this engineer of record and civil engineer involved. And
So we're pretty much back at square one with,
yeah,
with going rounds with those people. So we're really looking for somebody to come in, I guess boomerang and say, okay, well, we're gonna go to this person and they'll have to design something and this is what you need to install. We're throwing out suggestions of what we think could work and work fast. We don't know if they would approve it or how they would design it, but, you know, like I said, kind of in the beginning, we don't carry that insurance to design this type of stuff, and this was unforeseen conditions, and so we need help getting a design. We can throw out suggestions, but we can't design it ourselves. We can ask other people to do it for us.
We just covered that, and we were foreseen when we originally did the soil now, it's probably going to be unsuitable conditions there as well. That's my point, so I would consider that unforeseen at this point, that's been several months ago. I don't think I consider that unforeseen. That's been several months. There you go. We just said a month ago, that's all, that's just progressing. Right? And now there's like, okay, we don't know who it is, what thing. It's just, if you've been talking about it, there has to be, I mean, it makes sense to me. And that's what's been so frustrating about this whole thing, is that everything is, we've known about this, we haven't done anything, and now we come up and we're gonna have to do it quickly, and we're gonna have to get someone, but we don't know who. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that is part of the engineering and the construction process that Branch should have, I think, foreseen and been working on, rather than discussing it, meetings. There should be some concrete examples of this is what we need to do.
Right.
And we would have talked about that 6 months ago. We would have had it in place rather than doing it now. And it's just like John was saying, on the part of working on the 100 and we've got this, and if we had, if we break it down into these 5 or 6 little micro segments that have been so difficult and problematic, it would have seemed like a far better decision would have been, let's do this and work out like we were going to. And now that poor decision has created all of these decisions. And that's where the frustration comes from us, is that, you know, there's all these things that come up unforeseen or we knew about, we thought about, and didn't create the deal. And it seems to be a stepping stone kind of process that brought us to this point, and the decisions are not out.
So, to sum it up, from what I heard from Jack, that soil metal wall is built into this schedule.
Yes.
that we are expecting you to do a solar panel wall. If it's a delay, then this schedule is no good. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not no good, but you would see the schedule be delayed. The sequencing and everything in there.
So the date that's shown on this paper would not be good.
That's what I'm saying. This
Yeah.
May the 26th will be the out one.
Isn't it fair to say the length of that yellow line got an established precedent? There were two types. There was the permanent soil mailing, and there was the temporary soil mailing that becomes storing for construction sequences. The placement of that was critical. Now, that placement needs to be in a different area, so it seems like it just needs to be done and the project must be on.
I agree, but we have no idea. There's nobody that, no, if somebody would bring us okay, we've been working on this for 2 months, and this is the engineer's design, and this is what it's gonna cost, but to come and say, did you guys know you have ideas? At this point,
So we are not designers. We can't design this, so we need Boomerang to help us.
you know, we already did, the person that was Donald's, the person that was the brain power of the soil mill, they need to take that same example and apply it to where y'all.
That these two elected bodies are seeing was occurred. I want to toss this out. There's a barrier to maintaining this timeline, the kids occupying the 100 building. If that building was vacated, we could remove it. Would it resolve this issue? We didn't need 100 right now. And we could relocate those kids or adjust the schedule, to get those kids out of that facility. Fill out vacant removal, would it resolve this whole soil man crisis?
So that was kind of where, if you knew, or just blew out that this soil was bad 10 months ago, why didn't we decide to go ahead and demolition that, demo that building, put some classrooms out there and get this done? I mean, if we knew this 10 months ago or 8 months, I don't know, but I'm just saying, the bottom line is they can't do this blue line without 100 pod being out of the way. It can't be done. That's right. So to me, I'm not Dr. Brickman, to me, it makes sense. Let's demo the building and do something with the kids. And if we can do something with the kids, that's none of my business. I don't know anything about that, you have to. But that makes the most sense to me. And let's move on.
Do you roughly have a ballpark on what this soil mill wall that you're projecting to cost? This ballpark? Nobody's going home.
Sir, would you please stand and tell us who you are, along with the people around here saying who this is?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
This is Mr. Tom, he's our consultant that's working with us, that oversees this project.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize.
Do you have a ballpark or anything that we can sort of kick around, because to bring mobile units in, Dr. Brigham, it's what?
No, we don't have time for portable units or the money, or the location, or the location.
I think everybody said agree, something has to, I mean, we don't have any choice to do it. I'm not a contractor, I'm not an engineer, I'm also not a farmer, but I know what I'm getting fertilized, that's why I call it. And, this is happening time and time and time. I'm tired of it. I don't know, y'all, is it just me?
Can we get on that building with kids and the other people that are in? Can we get on the 100 part if we've got kids in the 200 and 300 and those other places?
Branch would have to come up with some barrier walls and stuff.
I'm just asking.
I would say no, just because when the building falls and demo it down, you never know which way it's gonna fall. And it could put kids in danger if they're in the building.
So we have to vacate the whole building in order to take down that building.
We would have to have it, the campus vacated to abate and demo.
Yes,
And
you
it's
would.
safe practice. Yes.
How long?
It looks like to me right now, our only option because of that, so we can't just turn the school out, is to come up with a plan to do this procedure that you're speaking of, which we would probably more than likely approve without hesitation if only there was one before us. I mean, we can put that together.
I have some ballpark numbers, but I haven't looked at what, cost savings there will be in that portion of the retaining wall that we won't have to do the, propose or the design, construction for. For this, we would back that number out, and then we have the new number, you know, with that in there. I throw the number that I think it's going to upset some folks. So I really would like to have an opportunity to just do a little bit of math and come up with a reasonable number.
I appreciate that. Why would you not do some? Why is this, I mean, if this is our only option, how is this not presented in a way that gives us something to work with rather than, so we think this needs to be done, we're not sure how, we're not sure how much. I mean, I don't understand the thought process.
And I understand your frustration. The idea that you sold for the retaining wall, it came to me in couple of nights. And
Well, that's at your cost.
That's right.
Yeah, that's your cost, not ours.
The figure that you're gonna take off is that for the retaining wall, it's gonna be minimal. It will be minimal.
there's a lot of, again, that widespread footage, that goes away in that section of the wall.
But you should be given credit for that, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so.
What needs to happen is we have a conference call with structural engineers, and I don't know who all needs to be involved. Boomerang, the civil engineer, to figure this out. We cannot do it by ourselves. We're not designers. We can bring in a soil knowledge company, but the engineering record still has to look at it and understand the concept and agree on it.
But the legal record for the soil matter is we have to work for you.
But the engineering, did your engineer not review the shop drawings
We
before it was
reviewed
approved?
the baseball that
But the design intent was correct?
we did not.
Do you want to do this in a vacuum without the structural engineer? I can't imagine. that you would want a structural engineer to look at it.
We didn't provide any input to Worcester last time. Worcester came and said, this is what we need to do. So why can't we do it this time?
Can I go back to the question you asked a minute ago for you guys? Would that 100 be vacated of kids on this campus, keep this timeline moving forward and give us the capacity to finish this project? Are the kids occupying this campus creating a hardship to remove this building and get this project done on time?
What time frame are you talking about? If you move kids out and tear the building down and then do that, I mean, how long would it take to do this, what you're talking about?
60 days. Right?
How many?
The abatement and the demo is 60 days.
No, it's
That was
when-
per pod, and they were gonna overlap some between pod 100 and 300. Because he said he needed 30 days to, do the abatement for pod 100 and 30 days for pod 200. And then he said the same thing. as demo. I thought that as well, and then when we had that meeting the other week, we sat in our office, I wanted to clarify it with him, and he said it took 30 days in pod 100 for the abatement, for the asbestos abatement, and 30 days in that pod. And then when he started demo, he said that he could overlap some of that stuff when he started the demo, and he could do it maybe, instead of a total of 120 days, he said he thought he could get done in about 90 days total.
We're looking at December at this point. It's 100.
So Greg, what I'm looking at in my head, the initial soil knowing wall is 138, 140,000, something like that. And this wall that you're proposing right now is an eighth of that, so to speak. And I know you gotta have mobilization.
And you got an economy of scale as well. Plus, this wall, because it's going to go the full 18 feet and be your permanent retaining wall.
Right.
pipe piles in the, okay, 10, at the corner, near the corner, you see the pipe piles. They were used in conjunction with soil wells. So up at the top, because the length of the nails would go into the existing building, they put in pipe piles and then soil nails below. Here, because of the small area, we'll have to run some soil nails, but those pipe piles will be a lot more substantial to be able to hold the wall in place permanently without any, anything else on this side. So that's the difficulty in answering the question. Without a design, hard to come up with a real number.
But what I'm hearing from Boomerang is it's up to your people to design the first soil metal wall.
We reached out to them initially because we were at a standstill initially, and we reached out to Worcester Head, and they have engineers that come out and design that initial soil nailing wall. And they did work for us during that time because we did it in good faith to keep moving forward. However, they're not like full-time working for us on the whole project. We went and found them to try and to make a solution. So they're just another sub. So that might not be the sub that we use to do the next round of it, or, they might not have the time to come and design it. It might take meeting 5 other subs to figure it out and how to do it.
Yeah, but from what I'm hearing from Jack, this is a time sensitive.
It is.
Let me point out that there are 10 elected officials here, there are 7 members of our administration, y'all are having conversations that should have been had a long time before you got here. This is absurd. This is sophomore. If I ran my home like y'all run your business, I'd be bankrupt. This is a clown show. This is a circus. This is absurd. And it's exactly what I've come to expect from Branch. It's why people laugh and say, I'm so sorry. Talked to a school coordinator, construction coordinator down in the state, and he said, oh my God, you're dealing with Branch. This is why. This is absurd. It's sophomore and I'm tired of it. Y'all need to get it together. This is 22 million taxpayer dollars we're talking about right now. In a county of 14,000 people, we're going to be paying on this for the next several years. I mean, and I'm talking, that's a lot of money. And y'all are making a spectacle of it. It's disrespectful to our taxpayers and our citizens. I'm sick of it. Y'all need to get it together. Excuse me, but this is absolutely, this is the most absurd thing I've ever witnessed in my life. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
Let me ask a question. If, and I don't know who can answer. If this has to be done, there's no question about it. We don't know who's going to do it. We don't know how they're going to do it. We don't know what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take. Is that correct assumption?
We have
Okay. So what does that do for the first sentence on this, on the first page, the completion date? What part of that does that put that? That's mainly what everybody's interested in, is getting these children in the state. Are you looking at after school starts after Christmas? In January 2022?
Pretty much what I'm hearing, sir, is unless they get anchored by the middle of March, that's when it starts accumulating time.
We'd be happy to get an anchor if we had a question. You don't have a question?
We'll put it together. We'll put with the help of Boomerang, we'll put together a program that will be understandable and doable. And then
Who's designed the retaining wall? Is that the civil engineer,
Yeah, no, it's not.
structural engineer? So we're gonna have to interface with them if we're talking about choosing part of that wall or throwing on the wall. We can't not include the structural
We'll
engineer.
entertain, everybody will
and come up with a solution. When you're asking us to do is come up with a solution without talking to the engineer.
That conversation between. Sounds to me like communication breakdown is anticipated.
We've had these conversations at meetings, and we've had the same battles the whole time. That it's our responsibility to come up with something when it's not our responsibility to design. It's not our responsibility to design it. Something has to be done. It's not our responsibility to design it. We've asked it, and we've had the same battle with them, but they keep pointing the finger back at us, but we're not designing.
When I walked around the table, I walked this person that knows probably the most about this building, of anyone here, and the number of children, and what to do with it. Miss Pat Evans was principal after for years. We've had a whole, on the spot, I just went to what you and I said. I asked her, is there any way to put the children out of the 100 part into the rest of the building? And her answer was no. So that option is there. I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the way that, what I just asked was, they can't even be in the building, they can't be on the floor. So it means moving them off campus in order to demo the 100.
And see, we've noticed that darn 100 spot was gonna be tore down from, where the dirt was ever shoveled up and said we're gonna build a school. I'm concerned about trying to demo that building, is that it's gonna run with the rest of the building. You know, the 200 part, and that's the other question part. And then, what do we do with kids, we don't have another facility anywhere, and we can go remote, but I think that's just.
I think you're right there. I don't think it's rare they're gonna have to walk down with that packaging.
So the answer is we're gonna have a full building proposal as soon as possible, tomorrow will be it. We need engineers on the ground, we need whatever fixes to happen, starting tomorrow. 8 a.m. Here, that's what we have to do for our children and for our citizens of the county.
I think it's just kind of right, I think we need to quit looking back
Right.
now and start looking forward, so we can use this 8-5 days.
Yeah.
And whatever it takes, let's get it done.
Yes.
And
For 526 days.
And our part C, it's approved, we just have to have the plan.
So we've got to have you all get the proposal to us as soon as possible. The answer, as soon as possible. Friday be good.
Rob, did you have anybody that can do that, starting the day of
We were all in for cooperation. We're as anxious as anybody for the school to be occupied by those students. We set all along the critical path on the schedule all along. Was getting that history done. You know, it's been obstacles, but then we're all in it, and we'll just leave it at that. We'll, you know, we're gonna represent the folks that hired us and deal with the amount of soil mailing that was done permanently and temporarily at place right now. And now what needs to be done in lieu of some of that temporary that was put in place already.
So, is that a yes?
Yes. Yes. Because, you know, and again, just to reflect, try to close on a positive note. Done a handful of projects with grants, all high school projects in the past. They're one of 3 that were federal contractors, 3 qualified. They asked the most questions during bidding, probably more questions than the other 2 together. You know, we came in with a great spirit. 2019 summer was very good. You know, 2020 was obviously an unprecedented year. Right, wrong, or indifferent, but activity level and things didn't progress. The schedules were continually updated with, marks that weren't hit. We got informed of this schedule yesterday at 12 noon. And so we're looking at it. We're gonna come to the table with them and everything in our power that we can do to support that mission, get students in, we're all going to work committed to it. So, again, it is imperative to be, responding to this information that we got. It is, as everybody said, it is imperative that those students get in that building. Point blank, that's, again, I appreciate you letting me express that. It's going to be a, obviously it's a complicated job, but when you look at a 50-year-old building, we're proud of the design of it. The educational spaces are going to be fantastic. All the ADA is going to be solid. The efficiency of the equipment, the community asset that building will become. So it's like like this close, but it keeps getting pushed back. So again, we're all in, and we're going to do whatever we can to support forward this general contractor to please be successful in getting it. Let me ask you a question about your proposed soil nailing in your retaining wall. Does the soil nailing that you're proposing to do, will it take the place of the permanent retaining? Be a part of it.
The first little bit of.
Will, first section, but will that make the retaining wall even stronger?
Yes. And even though that's important for its concrete retaining wall, it gets placed with brick. So, it's not like you're going to see that being the sort of that's supposed to finish product.
In some respects, design correct, as you first asked, this would be a better one, because you're taking structural steel, we'll call it, and soil nails, a combination of it going back. So instead of this T that we're seeing, now you've got a whole system going back in. You've seen retaining walls in the past. Proper design, proper construction, but because of nature, we'll call it, some of them have their issues. That this will eliminate the potential things.
Will this help turn the water away from the building?
The water will still be the same. We're not going to change what's at the top or the bottom in any way. Your drainage will still be as designed.
Yeah.
So the plan is that a structural engineer will take your idea and see if it's
What I would recommend is that we do a web conference call with a structural engineer, with Boomerang, with us, and engage a soil nailing consultant, and all talk through the issue together to make sure we're on the same page and we get some direction on what to do.
But it would be better if that structural engineer was around in the morning. See,
That's what I'm gonna ask you. Do you know a structural engineer?
They employ the structural engineer of record for the project. Who's got it at the end of the project, sign off on the entire building.
Is it feasible for you all to come up with get all that done, come up with a plan by Friday, and by close of business Friday, that Dr. Brigham and Philip know by Friday the plan? Is that feasible? I mean, I know that that's not, but we're up against it anyway.
No.
I mean, come up with a solution, and then, I mean, we know that there's other things that Steph will have to go through all the tools, but just come up with, here's our best idea.
I believe.
It depends on.
Not putting a cost to it, having the plan. I would think that I Friday, we should have.
I don't know, he will have to go back there and run the caps on all that stuff. That's structural engineer. And that structural engineer, he ain't gonna just He's not just gonna sign off on this. He's gonna run them doubts.
When would be feasible?
He needs a week.
At least if you want to go that far, yeah. I was thinking,
Just to come up with a plan. We can still run the calculation and stuff, but present the plan of, this is what it's gonna end up being. And then take the time to do the calculations, the pricing, all that stuff, but present what we're gonna do.
it's not.
I mean, I think it's possible, Rob.
Yeah, we will report Friday on where it stands. There'll be progress.
Solution.
Yes. It'll be
Okay,
But with that,
positive
we'll be there.
momentum.
but do we have to take on this responsibility? Or you can maybe. There's all that.
I don't understand what this is about.
How much is it going to cost us to do we get paid extra to have an adjustment? Do we have to, you know, I'm just saying,
It'll be a part of the office.
that's what I'm saying.
It's possible.
We're through that, right? We're done with that. What we heading now?
All right. Board of Commissioners, we will close our meeting right now. Waiting for Mansur the Brown.
Are we through?
That's enough on the schedule. I'll be behind it for this.
Thank you all for being here. I know this was not fun. We just have to.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
We just, again, we want these kids in this building so bad. We're passing about it.